Welcome to today's video. I'm going to be doing two different hollies using two different methods that we can use in card making out of paper. Let's get to it. Okay, for this one, we're taking 1 centimetre wide strip and we're folding that and making that into two. Now these strips that I'm using come with this adhesive tape already attached, but obviously if you don't have that, just use glue. Figure out how wide you want this glued area to be. Obviously I need to go off how much tape has been pre-made, but basically where you want the amount of glue on there, you just need to fold that so you've got enough to stick on at the end. And I need to do the same for the other one. So we've got two of the same size leaves. That's that bit out of the way. Okay, so what we need to do now is fold this in half, but we're not folding it half to the end, we're folding it in half up to that glued area that you want to use. So we're folding it there. Make sure everything's nice and straight and put your crease mark in. So that's folded in half. We're going to fold it in half again, exactly the same, up to that mark. Make sure that's nice and straight and put your crease mark in, and then we're going to fold it one more time. I'm only turning it over just so that it's not pushing itself further down, but exactly the same. That's where that glue mark's going to be. And when we open this up, we find where our half mark is again, which is this one at the top. And on one side these will already have folds in, but we just want to make them more pointed, so we're just going over and creasing all the fold marks so that they're facing the same way, apart from the last one. We'll come to that one in a bit. Then on this side where they're pointing inwards, you need to point it outwards and make that fold so they're all on the outside. So now that's all our creases that we need. So I'm going to find the halfway mark again, and you need to take either a pencil or a tool or something rounded that we need to start from the top here, and we want to curl this outwards, preferably without taking the adhesive off, but we'll come to that in a minute. You need to stick it down anyway. And then exactly the same from the centre, folding it that way. Now when we come to find that centre mark again, we can go ahead and point these all outwards, and the curve that we've just put in will help give us that curve in the middle. Now the sticky bit, obviously like I said, I've got adhesive strips on this. You go ahead and use glue if you want to, but you basically put in this end right in that last crease, put your glue on or adhesive tape, and then stick that down. You can go ahead and glue that down. So now it's just putting it into the right width and shape that you want it to be. That's the basic shape that we need for the holly leaf. So there's our first holly shape. And there we have our second leaf. So for the berries, what we're going to be doing with this one. I'm just going to wrap it around my finger, but you know, find something that you're happy with, that you want for the width. I'm going to snip that off. Once we've snipped that off, we can go in and put some glue and stick that down. Let's take it off my finger. I'm going to do exactly the same again 2 more times. Now we can bring in these, and just where the glue is actually joined, this is sort of a little bit on the thicker side, so it generally tends to end up more flat. I'm just going to go and try my best to make that more of a circle shape, and then we can go ahead and stick them together. And the same with this one. And then with the hollow, we want just a touch of glue on the edge just to join these two together. Get whatever spacing you are wanting there, and then when we glue this on top of it, this will all hold it together, and then obviously we're sticking it to a card which will all hold it in place afterwards. So just gonna put some glue on there where we know it's going to be touching the holly leaves. That's now had some time to dry. I mean, it holds its shape very well. It's not going to fall apart, but obviously if you start pulling it apart it will do. So for this method we're using what's called a husking board, and I've put these out in a shape of what I'm going to be rolling these around. I'll put a simplified version of what it looks like on the screen where the actual pins are actually placed. Hopefully you can see it on there, if not I'll just bring it up a little bit. So we've got the main leaf, like the point, and then the bottom, and then the rest sort of weave in and out. And the reason why I like this method is because it actually gives you that curved shape without you having to curve it yourself. So we're starting off at the bottom, and I just want to make a very small loop just to go around that very first pin. So I'm just rolling it backwards and forwards between my fingers so that we can get it into a circle shape. So once you've got that little loop, you can then just go and apply a small amount of glue. Very small amount. And then just make sure that's rolled to form your first loop. Just give that a second to dry. Then we can pop that on this first pin and start making our shape. First one we want it on the inside, and then the second one on the outside. Then I like putting my finger on the top just to stop the quilling paper coming off. We're going in that side. Can be a bit fiddly, especially trying to show it on camera. So we're going in that side and then putting my finger over the top again, because we're going around the next pin and back on the outside. Around that one, and you're just basically weaving it in and out. It can be a bit fiddly when you start off. So over that pin and then round that pin, and then in on this pin, and then around that pin. So as you get to the top, pull it, make sure it's tight and you've got all these edges actually touching, and if possible push it down so it's flat on the board. That'll just make them lines a bit more neat when you come to making these points be more refined. So around this top pin, and you're going in on that pin and out on the next, and you're basically just weaving it in and out. So for every pin that you go around, you come back around the other one and wrap it around the next. Make sure you're pushing it down as you go. Around this next one, in and around the next one, and push it down as you go. This started curling out a little bit, so what I've done is just twisted it back round. Then around the next one. And when we get to the top, we want to make sure it's all flat and good, and we want to make sure that this is tight around this top pin here. Once you're happy with the placement, we can then put a bit of glue on the outside of this pin here, so this bit here. So that when we pull it round tight and go over the top with it, I'm trying to do this without getting my hands on the camera, we can then pull that across for it to start drying. I'm going to hold that there for a few seconds just for it to start drying. Whilst that's drying, on the pins that are on the outside, I like just getting a pair of fine nose tweezers and just on the outside pin here, I'm just going to make that a bit more creased. We'll refine this a bit more when we take it off the asking board. I'll just find that this makes it a bit easier to find them points when we take it off. So I'm just squeezing them at the side. Just to refine that shape a little bit for when we take it off the asking board. When you know your glue is fully dry, you can either take the pins out or actually slide this up over the top. Tweezers always come in handy. You're taking the paper off the pins rather than the pins out of the paper. It's always good to do it in small sections so that you don't pull all your pins out. The top one's likely to come out because it's got a bit of glue on there, so not a problem, we can just push that one back in. But I just struggle to do the rest of these. Okay, so that's our basic shape. So what we're going to do now is just take a pair of scissors and we're just going to snip off where the glue connects. And then it's just a matter of refining the shape then. So on each of these, make sure it's straight up, and we're just going to use the end of the tweezers just to fold it and make it a bit more pointed. And there we have our holly leaf. So we need to make some more of it, another one of those, and then we're going to move on to the berries. we go. So we've got our 2 pieces of holly, and now we need the red berries. For this one, with it being an open leaf rather than having anything in the middle of it, I'm gonna do an open coil just because I want it to be more in line with the leaf that we've just done. So I'm going as big as a little bit smaller than the size that I want it. I'm going to take off the excess and we're going to find the size of holly that we want. I think that one go the right size. I'm just going to pop that in there and let it open up. You can do the berries however you like. You can mix and match these methods that I've done depending on what you want for your project. We'll take that out, put a spot of glue on it. And we've got a simple berry. We'll do that again, get another one going. I always like lining things up first just to see how they will look and see if there's any adjustments that we need to make. Yep, happy with that. Let's get some pins in the place. The reason why I like doing that initial sort of anchor point is I can actually put pins in when we come to glue it all together. So I'm going to leave them there for now. I'm going to concentrate on the berry bits first. So I like hiding the glued joint, this bit here. I like hiding that next to or inside of something else. Just stops it being seen on the outside. So I'm going to stick them 2 together and maybe put more than 1 pin in there. Because it's an open coil, it's got some movement. And again on this one, I like hiding the crease. They're all gluing together. Once that's dried, then we'll stick that to it. So they've had a little bit of time to dry. Let's just take them pins out, and then I want to stick this to the holly. First of all, I want to stick the holly to the holly. So I'm going to put a good coat of glue on here just because I want it all held together well. But obviously you're going to be sticking this down on a card or any other decoration, then you'll also have the security of the glue on the piece that you're sticking it to as well. So once you've got everything in the right shape that you want it in, you can secure it with pins if you need to, and just leave that to dry. So this has had time to dry, so let's just take this out and make sure everything's stuck together and everything's how we want it. It's quite a delicate one. I do like making things more robust, but sometimes delicate ones look nice on cards especially. If you have any issues about this sticking to the corkboard, then I mean I don't find it that difficult depending on where you're putting your placement of your items, but you can put a little bit of parchment paper underneath your projects and that'll just stop it sticking to your corkboard. Yeah, there we go. Cute, nice simple holly to add to your cards. And then we could also bling that up if you wanted to make it more sparkly. You could put red crystal in the middle or do different beads, different berries. Up to you how you do it. This glue does dry clear, I'm just giving that time to dry. But there's one example of how to make holly.